Okay, good morning, everybody. Morning. Let's please stand. The hymn we're going to do is different than the one that's in your program because spring is here. So we're going to sing, chant for the seasons for spring. So if you could please stand and sing together.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. As always, I want to welcome each and every one of you to this space. Welcome all that you bring with you, your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, all that helps make you who you are. And that includes those of you, of course, who are in the room with us, as well as those who are live streaming with us this morning. It's great to have all of you. So welcome to one and all. A couple of announcements. I don't see the new member brochure, but I think you can find a new member brochure in the back and on the guest table as well that was brand new and just produced. We do want to invite those who've been coming for a while and feel that you're in cohesion with the church, feel good about it, to feel free to join us formally if you would like. We would love to have you as a formal member. This includes those of you who live stream with us. About 80% of you are actually in Spokane. Some of you are members already, but you'd be welcome to join as well. And as well as those who attend from a distance, we can sign our membership book by proxy. So just send us an email or talk to me or somebody after the service and let us know if you're interested in joining. Also, we are in the beginnings of a new strategic planning phase. This is, I think, the fourth strategic plan we will have had since I've been here now. And people often wonder, they start hearing about the strategic plan and, well, when am I going to get to give my input? Rest assured you will get your input. There's going to be surveys and meetings, and the team is putting together lots of ways to get the congregational input on this. And this would include members, but also friends who attend. So stay tuned for that. Now, you will notice that I am wearing my robe again. I wanted to talk a little bit about the reasons I'm wearing it. First of all, several people came to me last week and said, I wish you would wear that from time to time. Find reasons to wear it. And so I want to talk about the reasons. One, I look good in it. Several people came to me and said, you look really good in it. And a few said, you look like Dracula. I'm good with either. Another reason is it's a very beautiful gift. I mean, I just can't thank our friends in Fel Shirakos enough for such a beautiful gift. Not only because it's beautiful, but it's also very meaningful to me. Here, as I explained last week, in the West, we tend to wear our robes, in Unitarian churches anyway, at formal events, usually clergy gatherings that involve some sort of parade or an ordination or something like that. So not many of us would wear them every Sunday, unlike they do in Transylvania. So I think this robe is special to me, one, because I just love Unitarianism and I love our history, and the fact that this is a Transylvanian robe where our religion formally began in the 16th century is incredibly meaningful, and as Julie expressed last week, that gravitas of this, the weight of this pulling you down, to me is really connecting me to the roots of this religion, which I love doing. Another reason is that under the old paradigm of wearing them at clergy gatherings, I don't get to go to clergy gatherings anymore. I'm not recognized as a minister by my fellows because of the very things that our religion stands for, because I have stood up for, as best I can, the very things that our religion stands for. And so I'm going to wear this robe particularly when I'm talking about history. As you know, I like to talk about John Deitrich. Today I'm going to be giving one of John Deitrich's sermons that is actually a sermon about Robert Ingersoll, another very famous liberal orator of the 19th century. And it is the values that they discuss and talk about that our religion means, or at least the values that we have are supposed to mean, that to me this robe represents. And so I want to wear it on those occasions where I am trying to help connect all of us to those roots that I cherish so much as a Unitarian, the very reason I am a Unitarian. So those are the occasions I'll wear it, during which I'll wear it, and today is one of those occasions because of the sermon I mentioned, which I will just say here at the start as well, that for those who don't know, John Deitrich was our minister here from 1911 to 1916, and he went on to be really the founder of religious humanism, the father of religious humanism, a signer of the Humanist Manifesto. He also caused a debate in Unitarianism because of that. But he didn't invent the humanistic tendency within our religion. He recognized it because it goes way back, right? I mean, our Christology, the very reason we're called Unitarians is because we believed only in Jesus' humanity, right? And the humanistic benefits of his teachings. So, of course, humanism would be born from Unitarianism because it is humanistic to begin with. So I'll be talking about Dietrich, or I'll be giving one of his sermons. It was a series of sermons he did on three humanists. One was Thomas Paine. The other was Ingersoll, and I'm forgetting who the third was. I think a Englishman, so it doesn't count. Just kidding. But as usual, this one was like 16 pages long. My sermons are usually 6 pages, if that. Okay, so I have to do a lot of redacting. I got this one down to 6.5 pages without losing any of the important content. Fortunately, that's fairly easy to do because Dietrich was very redundant in his sermon, so you're able to extract a lot without losing any of the points that he's making. So I think you'll enjoy this perhaps even better than sitting for an hour to listen to him speak. Now his fascination with Ingersoll, I know I'm taking up too much time But this is another really important point. You know, Dietrich made his name at a time where television didn't even exist, right? Radio was just beginning. When Ingersoll was famous as an orator, because people didn't have anything else to do. They'd love to go sit down and listen to somebody for an hour, for 2 hours, especially somebody who was eloquent and said things they'd never thought about before. And it's really hard today for anybody to have the kind of status that these two giants, these two intellectual giants had. Sadly, because there are a lot of intellectual giants in the world, but there is an abundance of media which makes it very difficult to discover them. So I hope you'll appreciate that today too as you contemplate the sermon, which I will stop speaking about now so that I don't end up giving 2 sermons and adding back the 7 pages I took away. Okay, let's take time to greet one another this morning, whether you're here in the sanctuary or if you're joining us online. All right, we will now proceed by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today comes from another time, and you'll notice language that reflects that time. I've chosen to leave it as it was written, trusting that its deeper invitation still speaks clearly to us today. This morning, as we reflect on the life and thought of Robert Ingersoll, we begin with an invitation from him, an invitation that sets aside labels, assumptions, and divisions, and to remember something more fundamental about ourselves. Let us forget that we are Baptists, Methodists, Catholics, Presbyterians, or free thinkers, and remember only that we are men and women. After all, man and woman are the highest possible titles. All other names belittle us and show that we have, to a certain extent, given up our individuality and have consented to wear the collar of authority, that we are followers. Throwing away these names lets us examine these questions not as partisans, but as human beings with hopes and fears in common.
Okay, please stand and let's sing. Let there be light.
We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our thoughts this morning. I want to begin with a candle for Roger Bosky and Mary Ann Bosky. Roger underwent heart surgery earlier this week and has had some complications and is in the hospital where they can keep an eye on him. So please keep him and their family in your thoughts at this time. And as we have continue to do, increasingly so, a candle for the people around the world who are suffering from the unnecessary war and violence going on everywhere in places like Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Darfur, Sudan, many other places. And of course, we continue to kindle a candle for the immigrants in our country, people who look like immigrants, who live in fear, living in our own homeland. And also a candle for the people who are not being paid right now and the chaos that's causing in their lives. And for the folks who work in the air travel industry in general, because it sounds like things are going to get messy there this week. So lots to be concerned about, lots of people to be concerned about, and so we really need more candles than we have these days, but we'll let those represent all of our concerns, including those others that might be on your minds, and as usual, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud, those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Good morning. Today, during our Time for All Ages, we would like to introduce you to a friend that we have not yet met in person.
You've probably heard about mass incarceration. Incarceration means jail. Our country incarcerates more of its own people than any nation in the world, about 2 million people. Men and women, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, youths and elderly, often poor and usually the most wounded members of every community, are locked away in a disastrous system of mass tombs. They are cut off from the land of the living.
Getting out of prison isn't the hard part. Most incarcerated men and women have a release date. Dark as prisons are, the day they get out is just the start of a much more difficult story.
In the U.S., roughly 700,000 people are released from prison back into our communities every year. But without access to new relationships and opportunities, with many barriers to re-entry, most remain in the underground street economy. They eventually get arrested and sucked back into the prison system, disenfranchised and dead to society.
In Washington state, there are roughly the same number of churches as there are folks in prison. What if every church built a solid relationship with just one person releasing to their area and walked with them as they emerged out from the underground of incarceration?
This is the call that was answered by 8 individuals at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. Kirsten Grant, Jennifer Calvert, Judy Arms, Susan Tyler Babkert, Marina Ladich, Cindy Fine, Barb Stubing, and me, Peggy Eklof.
Or, as we like to say, your OPOP community, your OPOP team, one parish, one prisoner, seeking mutual transformation.
This is not a one-way charity, and it's not community service, but an opportunity to experience with our releasing friend the authentic growth and healing that we all need.
Although our reasons for saying yes to this opportunity vary for each individual, including Ashley, our releasing friend, we as a team have committed to the following: to read and participate in monthly learning modules, to gather in monthly team meetings, to write 2 letters or 2 emails or phone calls each month, to build a relationship with Ashley and with each other, and to refer to Ashley by her first name only and not to Google her because she is not defined by her charges but is the gift of a relationship.
We, as your OPOP team, will be in communication with you on how, as a congregation, we can best support this process of mutual transformation. We are not here to save or be saved. We are here to be made different.
Will you now join us in the responsive reading number 576 in the back of your gray hymnal? It's titled A Litany of Restoration. I will start us, and you will read the italicized part as the respondents, and Jen is going to read with you,
Yes.
so that our folks that are streaming can hear what is being said. 576. If recognizing the interdependence of all life, we strive to build community, the strength we gather will be our salvation. If you are black and I am white,
It will not matter.
if you are female and I am male,
It will not matter.
if you are older and I am younger,
It will not matter.
if you are progressive and I am conservative,
It will not matter.
if you are straight and I am gay,
It will not matter.
if you are Christian and I am Jewish,
It will not matter.
if we join spirits as brothers and sisters, the pain of our aloneness will be lessened, and that does matter.
In this spirit, we build community and move toward restoration.
Thank you.
As we move now into a time of meditation, you are invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few slower, deeper breaths and reflect on these simple and generous words from Robert Ingersoll. While I am opposed to all orthodox creeds, I have a creed myself, and my creed is this: happiness is the only good. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. The way to be happy is to make others so.
Smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see, and bluebirds singing a song, nothing but blue skies from now on. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, noticing the days hurrying by when you're in love. My, how they fly by. Blue days, all of them gone. Well, nothing but blue skies from now on. Smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see, and blue days, all of them gone, and nothing but blue skies from now on. Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Blue days, well, all of them are gone, nothing but blue skies from now on.
Wow. You nailed it. Both of you. Wow. I don't think I've ever heard that song sung or played so well. Thank you. Yeah. That's it's a very interesting song because it's kind of a sad melody, but it's an optimistic song, right? Yeah, yeah. One of the things I'll say real quickly before I begin the sermon formally is that Ingersoll, who died in 1899, so truly a 19th century thinker, along with John Dietrich, who died in 1958, both had a really optimistic view of the direction that humanity, particularly here in the U.S., was heading. And both of them often use the term superstition, ending superstition or defeating superstitious thinking, as part of that future they saw that unfortunately doesn't seem to have manifested. So, I think that, our church that was really founded during the Ingersoll years in 1887, its bylaws state that the purpose of this church was to crush superstition. So I think that was probably part of the at least the intellectual milieu of the time that that inspired this church by the likes of an Ingersoll, not necessarily a Dietrich who would come later during the early 20th century. Okay, so this is actually called Robert G. Ingersoll, An Appreciation, that was given by John Deitrich at the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis in November of 1924, so over a century ago. All that is best in religion is unmistakably human, while the orthodox creeds in their icy barrenness are positively inhuman. Against their harsh and really immoral doctrines, the brave and honest thinker rises in revolt. One of the greatest of all rebels against conventional religion, one of the greatest of all defenders of liberty of thought, is the subject of our discourse this morning, Robert G. Ingersoll. Now, I'm going to diverge again, because I have to say, before I went on sabbatical in February, during conversations with Todd, Alan Foster said, "You're always talking about Dietrich. How about talking about John Ingersoll sometime?" And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about John Ingersoll. I mean, I know a little bit, but really there's only so much I can study and explore, so I love exploring Dietrich." And lo and behold, I discovered Dietrich gave a sermon about Ingersoll. So Alan, this is for you. Yeah. So, Ingersoll was born in Dresden, New York, August 11th, 1833. His father, the Reverend John Ingersoll, was a minister, sometimes congregational, sometimes Presbyterian, and his mother, Mary Livingston, who died at the age of 36 when Robert was only 2 years old, was a woman of fine and estimable character. His father, however, was a strict disciplinarian who took life very seriously and with the best intentions made things a little solemn for his family, a factor in turning his son against the Orthodox creeds and the caricatures of deity. But according to Ingersoll's own story, it was a generous sense of justice and right that first led him to disbelief. At the age of 8 years old, he heard a minister portray in lurid terms the tortures of the rich man, in vain begging Abraham for a drop of water to cool his tongue. The sensitive boy was indignant. "I got up and went out," he said, "knowing in my boyish heart that that was a lie. From that day to this, I have passionately hated every Orthodox creed." His father gave him a sound whipping and then prayed with him for guidance on the erring. But neither the whipping nor the prayer convinced the boy that human frailties were deserving of eternal torture. And it was just this doctrine of eternal damnation against which the boy had rebelled that was the center of his attacks on the popular faith as long as he lived. With the opening of the Civil War, his political points of view changed. He believed it his duty above all else to help preserve the Union. And since the Republican Party was also determined to keep the country together, he became a Republican and remained so until his death. In 1866, he was appointed Attorney General of Illinois and would have been candidate for governor in 1868 had it not been for his heterodox religious opinions. The delegates were all in favor of him and desired to nominate him if he would promise not to discuss religious issues in the campaign, which he refused to do. In 1877, President Hayes offered him the position of minister to Germany, but he refused. From this time, he gave himself to the successful practice of law in Washington and later in New York, and although he gained great public reputation as an advocate, he was known to the public chiefly and became a sort of popular idol by his popular platform lectures. He never wrote a book. He was a public speaker solely and published nothing but his lectures. In 1862, he married Eva Parker, daughter of an Illinois farmer, whom he adored always, and together they built an ideal home. He'd become a man of literary culture. He was an ardent lover of music, in fact, of all the arts, and he had a wide and sympathetic affection for his fellows and ended a happy life at Dobbs Ferry on the Hudson, July 21st, 1899. He had heart trouble and knew for 3 years before that the end might come at any moment, but never told any of his family, and thus ended the career of a clear-minded, candid, honest, brave man whose private life was tender, sweet, loving, and peaceful, and whose public career was largely the expression of his own wish, as he once said, to be out on the high seas, to take my chances with wind and wave and star, and I'd rather go down in the glory and grandeur of the storm than rot in the Orthodox harbor. He was most popularly known as an infidel lecturer. He went up and down the land attacking the Christian religion. He had a wonderful influence during the latter half of the 19th century in molding and shaping the religious opinions of others and freeing the human mind from the shackles of superstition. Of course, the ideas with which his name are associated and which he was the prominent exponent were not new, but by his strenuous activity in spreading them and his appealing ability as a lecturer, they became identified with him in the popular mind. And so Ingersoll is looked upon today as the most outstanding opponent of Orthodox religion and the most ardent champion of freedom from superstition that we have ever heard of in this country, if not anywhere in the world. And this is due to the fact that he was a born orator. I believe him to be the most popular orator of his day upon earth and probably of any day. I do not know of a man living or dead who might have had a mightier power over a popular audience than he had. And the secret of his power is not hard to find. He was the master of expression, wonderful in his ability to mold and shape words to the utterance of his thought. Besides, he was a poet. His speeches not only rough gems of thought, but fine-cut jewels of expression, beautiful as flowers and fragrant with lovely ideas. He had what any popular orator must have, a deep, broad sympathy with whatever is human. There is nothing that touched the interest or the welfare of mankind that did not find echo in his heart and his brain. He was not popular merely when he dealt with the question of religion. People flocked to hear him and were thrilled with interest, one moment shaking with laughter and another moved to tears, quite as much as when he spoke for some reform movement or some literary subject or in a political campaign as when he dealt with religion. In fact, he was once offered $100,000 to be a lecturer on Shakespeare for a university, which he turned down. Before I discuss his religious opinions, I think he sacrificed greatly on the account of his religious opinions. His infidelity was an expensive thing. Men would not employ him as a lawyer because he was an infidel. Caucuses would not nominate him, and people would not vote for him because he was an infidel. Asked what it cost him to publish his book containing the oration on the gods, he replied, "It cost me the governorship of Illinois." Everybody understood that there was hardly a position, not excluding the presidency itself, that might not have been his if he had been ready and willing to keep still about religion. But when urged to do this, he replied, "It is much more important for me to do what I can to give men light and to break down religious superstition and bigotry than it will be to be senator from Illinois or United States minister to a foreign power." And in an age of so much dodging and positioning for effect, let us appreciate the honor and honesty that dared to speak its mind and pay the price. Now, what was his position on religion? The thing which he attacked above all was the orthodox belief in hell, because he thought it crushed the human heart, blotted out human happiness, made people afraid to think, turned the brain into a dungeon, and prevented human progress. And in regard to this, let me refer to what I mentioned a moment ago, his sympathy. For this I regard as the key to his character and his career. Never a man lived who was more tender, more easily touched, more quickly moved. He was as responsive to all the movements of life and thought about him as the leaves of a tree to the movement of the air. This tremendous power of sympathy turned him into a flaming hatred of anything that seemed to him needlessly cruel. So this one great horrible world-shadowing dogma of eternal hate was the thing he devoted his life to fighting, the cruelty with which the church threatened men after death. What did he believe about God? He felt sure of one thing, that there is no such God as the one taught by the creeds of the Orthodox Church. He once said, "I do not know whether there is a God or not. I live in one of the rural districts of the universe, and I do not know anything about it." He never fought against the idea of God. He fought only against certain partial, unworthy, unworshipful, cruel conceptions of God. So you will find, if you read his lecture on the gods, that he was an agnostic, although he frankly confessed that he could not conceive of any God that satisfied either his heart or his brain. What was his attitude in regard to the Bible? According to popular opinion, he spent a large part of his time in ridiculing the Bible. But he only ridiculed certain unfounded conceptions of the Bible, which he regarded as standing in the way of human freedom and the progress of human thought. His idea of the Bible was that all intelligent people today, that it is the early literature of the Jews, that it was no more sacred than the early literature of any other people, that it was not by any means the foundation of law and morality as taught by the Christians, that it was full of inhumanities like the early literature of all people, and to use it as an infallible guide to conduct in this enlightened age was to make it the stumbling block of the human race. His Bible, like yours and mine, contained all the worthy literature of all times and of all peoples. How many times have Someone said to me, well, if your church doesn't preach from the Bible, what do you talk about? It's like, what do you mean? There's endless possibilities. And sometimes I do talk from the Bible. There's also wisdom to be gathered from it. What was his attitude then towards Jesus? It was practically the Unitarian idea of Jesus. He did not accept the theological Christ. He believed that Jesus of Nazareth was a historical character, but that the Christ of the New Testament was a myth, that it was a legend, not a life. He believed that the historical Jesus was simply a great heretic of his time, who tried to bring a new truth to his generation and for this reason suffered death. That any man who has given his life for what he believed to be truth and for freedom of thought has been one of the world's benefactors. And let me say this once and for all, he said, that for the man Jesus I have infinite respect. Wherever man has died, for man is holy ground. And to that great and serene man I gladly pay tribute of my admiration and tears. He was a reformer in his day. He was an infidel in his time. He was regarded as a blasphemer, and his life was destroyed by hypocrites who have in all ages done what they could to trample freedom and manhood out of the human mind. Had I lived at that time, I would have been his friend, and should he come again, he will not find a better friend than I will be. What did he think about the future? I shall read only a few sentences which show his belief in this regard. And you will note that here too he is an agnostic, just as we all are when we are frank and honest with ourselves. In his remarks at the grave of a friend's child, one of the most beautiful things I have ever read, he said, "We do not know whether the grave is the end of this life or the door of another. Every cradle asks us whence, and every coffin whether." And the poor barbarian weeping above his dead can answer these questions as intelligently and as satisfactorily as the robed priest of the most authentic creed. The tearful ignorance of the one is just as consoling as the learned but unmeaning words of the other. Again he said, "I have said 1,000 times and say again that we do not know whether death is a wall or a door, the beginning or end of a day, the spreading of pinions to soar or the folding of wings forever, the rise or the set of the sun, or the endless life that brings rapture and love to anyone." And again, "Is man mortal? I do not know. But one thing I do know, and that is that neither hope nor fear, belief nor denial can change the fact. It is as it is, and it will be as it must be." You will note here again that he is an agnostic, saying, "I do not know," and expressing his opinion that if there is a future life, the best way to prepare for it is to live a noble life here. And also that it is not dependent upon the acceptance of any creed or upon membership in any organization. It has been said of him that he was merely a destroyer of men's faiths, that he tore down without building up, that he took away a man's religion without giving him anything in return. That is the foolish accusation which is made against any man who teaches something different from that which has been commonly accepted. Personally, I do not believe that a man is under any obligation to put something in place of that which he takes away. I do not believe that a man must be quiet about something which he knows is untrue simply because he does not know what is true. But Mr. Ingersoll was very positive in his teaching. He taught what I persistently teach from this pulpit Sunday after Sunday, me too, even though Dietrich said this, and that is a belief in the religion of humanity, a faith in mankind, the courage to depend upon ourselves rather than upon some being in the skies. Listen to this, which was in reality his creed. to love justice, to long for the right, to love mercy, to pity the suffering, to assist the weak, to forget wrongs and remember benefits, to love the truth, to be sincere, to utter honest words, to love liberty, to wage relentless war against slavery in all its forms, to love wife and child and friend, to make a happy home, to love the beautiful in art and nature, to cultivate the mind, to be familiar with the mighty thoughts that genius has expressed, the noble deeds of all the world, to cultivate courage and cheerfulness, to make others happy, to fill life with the splendor of generous acts, the warmth of loving words, to discard error, to destroy prejudice, to receive new truths with gladness, to cultivate hope, to see the calm behind the storm, the dawn before the night, to do the best that can be done and then be resigned. That is the religion of reason, the creed of science. This satisfies the brain and the heart. And it ought to satisfy the brain and heart of any normal person. Yet he preached his religion of humanity, in which we believe, let me quote again, "Man should cease to expect any aid from the supernatural source. By this time he should be satisfied that worship has not created wealth, and that prosperity is not the child of prayer. He should know that the supernatural has not succored the oppressed, clothed the naked, fed the hungry, shielded the innocent, stayed the pestilence, or freed the slave." He tells us that he did not worship. He thought it belittling to the conception of God to suppose that he wants some kind of such fulsome flattery. But if I had time, I could read you glittering sentence after sentence of this very theme of worship, expressing what he meant by it. Worshiping that which is beautiful, that which is true, that which is high and noble in life, the consecration to duty in the midst of darkness, in difficulty and sorrow. If I were to try to find defects in the life and teachings of Ingersoll, I should have great difficulty. Of course, I could not agree with him politically or economically in many respects, for while he may be classed as radical in religion, he was very conservative economically and politically. But I do not know one word of positive teaching by him concerning the great questions of human interest that is not noble and fine and true, as healthy as the air and as fragrant as the lilies in the field. And his life was as fine a teaching. His relations with his fellows were based absolutely upon justice and right, and his home life was as sweet as a poem. He said, "I believe in the religion of family, that it is far more important to build a home than to erect a church. The holiest temple beneath the stars is a home that love has built, and the holiest altar in all the world is the fireside around which gather father and mother and the sweet babes." But it is said he had no reverence. It used to be said over and over again that he was utterly lacking in reverence for even his own parents when he so attacked their religion. I want to give you his idea of honoring mother and father. He said, "You never honor your father by going around swearing to his mistakes. You can never honor your mother by saying that ignorance is bliss because she believed the wrong things. I want to honor my parents by finding out more than they did." Suppose the human race had begun back in the Stone Age to honor father and mother in such a way as you consider it wicked to learn anything that they did not know. We would still be in the Stone Age today. The best way to honor father and mother is to try to make a better world for their grandchildren to live in. Again, it is said he was an infidel, but Mr. Ingersoll was indeed a man of splendid and unswerving faith. He had faith in reason. He believed in inquiry and in search for truth. He believed that all truth is safe. He had faith in right, and it was because of that faith that he ever denounced wrong, even when he found it in the Bible. He had faith in justice and love, and it was because of that faith that he refused to believe in any God that could hate a part of the human race or create an eternal hell. If our churches had half as much faith in truth and right and justice as Mr. Ingersoll had, this world would have been heaven compared to what it is today. I have sometimes been asked, what is the cause of a career like that of Mr. Ingersoll? What threw him into such extreme reaction? Given the teachings concerning God and man and destiny found in the old creed, given the preachers who persist in teaching these old creeds regardless of the growing knowledge, and then given a man who thinks for himself, who has a heart to be touched, who has a sense of justice and who is brave enough to speak out, and you have a man like Ingersoll. The natural necessary reaction from old creeds. True religion cannot be ridiculed because it is not ridiculous. When we come to estimate the real service of Mr. Ingersoll, in the first place, he did more than anyone else in the world to popularize the general attitude of the scientific mind toward religion. Ingersoll went up and down the land in every state of the Union, lecturing night after night to audiences of thousands. The average person learned more about advanced thought from Ingersoll's Why I Am an Agnostic than one could have derived from reading all the works of Herbert Spencer and Charles Darwin put together. In the second place, he startled his generation into thinking. Ingersoll, more than anyone else, compelled people to think, whether they wanted to or not. Looking about him, he saw on every hand men holding views of the Bible which had no basis in fact and which fettered their lives. Views of God which made him a tyrant and monster. Views of man which were in the highest degree depressing. And views of the future which were filled with horror. And he inquired, why do men in this enlightened age continue to believe in such things? And he said, I will do what I can to change this. No work can be more important. I will make men think. And he did. By his eloquence, by his wit, by his ridicule, by his retorts, by his scathing denunciations, by his fiery invectives, by his jokes, by his many-sidedness and brilliancy in very extravagance of his speech. He set tens of thousands to thinking for themselves on religious subjects who had never thought for themselves on these matters before. We may well be grateful for the example of a man who had the courage to think for himself and who dared speak what he believed to be true. The popularizing of scientific knowledge and making men think brought about the third. When he began his anti-theological propaganda, there was a fiendish belief in a literal everlasting hell. To the Orthodox people of his time, hell was a glaring, scorching, roaring reality. But a remarkable change came over even the Orthodox mind by the time Ingersoll was through. As he himself wrote just before his death, there is but little left for me to do. The fires of hell have been extinguished. The struggle with superstition is nearly over. We have passed midnight, and the great balance weighs up morning. And who had wrought this glorious change? Many people, including thousands of Unitarians and Universalists, rationalists, and freethinkers. But above all these names, there stands in seven-hued radiance the name of Robert G. Ingersoll. Of him, it has truthfully been said, he sought by constant appeal the truth, reason, mental and moral integrity, physical and intellectual liberty, justice and love, and moreover by personal example in each of all these to make of earth a heaven. But it is his memory's richest reward that he put out the ignorant, revengeful fires of hell. So we cry today, All hail to thee, great liberator of the human mind, great extinguisher of human fear, great prophet of human happiness. Thou didst live for posterity. Posterity will remember thee. Thank you.
Okay, please stand and let's sing together, For All That Is Our Life. Oops. Go ahead. For all that is alive, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Our benediction today comes from the writings of Jane Addams on the ethical foundation of democracy. The good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.